So, hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today for our information session about Ruler. The focus for today's session is to tell you what Ruler is, how it works, and how it can enhance student and educator well-being at your school. I know this is top of mind for most. So, thanks for joining us. We're so glad you're here. Today's session will run us about a half hour. We are recording, so we'll send you that recording by the end of this week. You are muted and your video is off, but we will have time for Q&A at the end of today's session. But please feel free to use the Q&A feature at any point during our presentation. We'll do our best to get to them. We're going to be asking some questions today during the session. Please use the chat for your response and make sure that your chat is set to everyone so everyone can see what you have to say. So today is meant to serve as a brief overview of Ruler. There's a lot of information that we're going to share with you. So please know that we are here to support you and your team. If you have questions after today, we are available to discuss and revisit it at any time. So who is we? We are Erin Bruff and Tangela Irby. So in my role at the center, I work primarily on all forms of Ruler communications, our website, social media, newsletters, and anything else that comes out from the center. And today I'm supporting this webinar both as a moderator and to tell you some more about the logistics of Ruler training. And I'm joined by Tangela. Tangela, I'll hand it over to you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tangela Irby, and I am all things Ruler content along with a great team. We work together, and I'm also a Ruler trainer and coach. And I am excited to kick our webinar off today. So let's get started. I first like to ask you to think about in your roles, whether is as a parent, as a caregiver, or whatever your role happens to be in your school. What do you want for your own children, the students that you work for, and the faculty and staff that you support? What do you want for them? What are some of your hopes and dreams? Please add them to the chat. I would love to see what you're thinking. What are your hopes and dreams for the people that you work with and for on a constant basis? Thank you, Erin, for adding that into the chat. What are some of your hopes and dreams? At the end of everything, we want them to be well. We want them to be happy. Thank you, Matt. We want them to experience joy. I love that. Many of us want more joy in our life, and we want to be intentional about bringing joy into our experiences. Well, if we go on to the next slide, unfortunately, we're finding that even though we want all of these things, we want them to be happy, we want them to be successful, what we're finding is what our students and our staff, what we're dealing with looks a lot different. We're finding that when we surveyed students and we surveyed educators and district leaders, we found that they're not feeling supported, they're not feeling connected. Many of them are dealing with the results, the unpleasant results of media addiction, social media addiction. They're dealing with loneliness. They're dealing with isolation. If you talk to educators, they're dealing with poor regulation skills from students. The adults are dealing with burnout. There's so much behavior management in terms of issues helping people manage their behaviors. And then when you talk to the leaders, it's the same thing. They are all worried about the mental health and well-being, not just of their students, but also for their teachers. So, how can we help? Ruler offers us help in a way of bridging the gap between our hopes and dreams for our students, our staff and ourselves, and what we actually want for them, how we want them to feel supported. We want them to feel happy. We want all of these wonderful things for our staff. And so we actually, through research, we have found that Ruler helps when it comes to our students. And how does Ruler help with our students? It helps because they are less anxious. They have more developed emotional development social emotional skills, and they have fewer attention problems. Ruler also helps with our educators. Our educators are reporting that they are more engaging. They're able to be more supportive and more effective in the classrooms. And they are suffering from less burnout and greater job satisfaction. These are things that we want as educators, right? And then when we talk to our school leaders, we found that the schools have more positive climates, there's less bullying, there's also better academic performance. The schools also report that they are seeing greater leadership school skills within their student and staff populations. I don't want you to just take my word for it. I want you to take a minute now to hear from one of our ruler educators.
I have always felt that you cannot get to the academic component of children unless you worry about the emotional well being of children. And this is a way of being that helps everyone stop and look at how do we change what we do in ourselves so that we can improve the outcomes for young people. And I really firmly believe that this mindset does it for kids and the adults. This is an embodiment of a whole philosophy of being, and I think it's one in this world today that we need.
So, what is ruler? Ruler is a pre-K 12 professional development for educators and also classroom instruction for students that aims to enhance resilience, well-being so that all members of the school community can achieve their goals, many of which are the same goals that you just mentioned a few minutes ago in terms of what you want for your students and the staff that you work with in your schools. So, how does Ruler do this? Let's get into the principles. There are three principles of ruler, and they are all emotions matter. Regardless of how you're feeling, it matters. Whether you are experiencing pleasant or unpleasant emotions, there is no way that you can leave them at the door and then go do your work with your students and then go back and pick them up on your way out. It doesn't work that way. Emotions are information, and we need to use that information to help us understand how we're going to manage them. Emotions are also social. How you are feeling impacts your students. So, if you go into the classroom and you're happy and you're bubbly, guess what? You're going to bring your students along with you for that ride. And so you also need to remember that when you have unpleasant emotions. And then, third, emotion skills can be developed. No matter how old you are, no matter how much experience you have in different areas in your life, you can still develop emotion skills. And Ruler, again, will help you do that. Ruler is an acronym for the name of the approach, but it is also Ruler is the name of the approach, excuse me, and also the acronym for the skills that we teach. And the skills are simply recognizing, understanding, labeling, expressing, and regulating our emotions. And again, through Rule, we talk about all of that and what all of that means in terms of helping us help ourselves and to help others understand and handle their emotions. Ruler is also 4 tools. And the tools of Ruler are the charter, the mood meter, the meta moment, and the blueprint. The charter helps you have a discussion with your staff and also with your students, and you answer 2 questions. How do we want to feel, and what are we going to do to help us feel that way? It's different from your rules that you might have in a classroom because the charter focuses on emotions. It focuses on the emotional climate that we all say that we need to have in order to do our best work. The second tool is the mood meter. And the mood meter is one of our most recognized tools. If you were to Google Mood Meter, you will find a lot of information and even merchandise that uses the mood meter. But the mood meter helps us think about our emotions in terms of how pleasant we're feeling and then the level of energy that we have in our body. And that helps us to determine how intense our emotions are. The third tool is the meta moment. And the meta moment teaches us to take a minute, take a pause when we find ourselves dealing with intense emotions to really think about what information am I getting right now and what do I need to do? How do I need to behave in this moment to be my best self? And then finally, we have the blueprint. Once you've learned the charter, the mood meter, and the meta moment, and you're utilizing the ruler principles throughout your day and throughout your school, you will still find that conflict will arise. And what happens when we are dealing with conflict? The blueprint gives you a way to look at conflict, not just from your own viewpoint, but to look at it from your perspective and to also have an understanding of how the other person is viewing the same conflict. So we use the blueprint to help us restore community when something has happened in our communities that needs to be addressed in order for us to move forward and do the work that we need to do. I'm now going to pass it to Erin, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about the ruler logistics. Erin?
Thanks, Tangela. I appreciate it. So we're going to switch gears here and really talk about some of the logistics behind ruler work, how ruler works and how you implement it at your school. So ruler is a phased approach that's designed to take several years. I'm going to share a recommended timeline with you, but understand that some schools do this faster and some schools do it slower. The important thing to understand is ruler is not a one size fits all approach. You can adapt it for the individual needs of your school. So in phase one, we begin by asking each school to send a small team of 3 to 5 to a ruler training institute. We recommend that the team include one administrator plus at least 2 teachers or mental health professionals. After training, the teams that attend will return to their schools to spend a year. We recommend a year. Some do it faster. And what they do is they teach the faculty and staff about Ruler and how to plan for classroom implementation. So the first year is all about the adults. The adults learn and they learn how to model the approach. In the second phase, schools bring Ruler to students with curricula. They also bring it to families with resources and activities. Ruler implementation is really meant to become stronger and more robust as time moves on. So you're not done after phase two. You continue to refine and improve. So once you've decided to move forward with Ruler, this is what phase one, that adult-only phase, will look like. First, you will select your Ruler implementation team. This is the team who will attend training and train the rest of your staff on the approach. It's helpful to consider selecting people from your school who together would create the highest impact for your initial team. Most schools tend to find it helpful to include the school principal or another school leader, pupil services personnel such as school counselors, psychologists, or a social worker, and teacher leaders. After the Ruler implementation team is identified, it's time to attend a Ruler Institute. Attendees of the Ruler Institute learn more about building a growth mindset around emotions, creating a common language around emotions, developing emotion skills, and sustaining positive social and emotional climates. We offer multiple trainings over the course of the year in 2 different modalities. We offer an online training that takes place over 6 weeks, roughly 2 to 2.5 hours per week. And then we also offer a 2-day in-person institute. We can provide more information on how those are put together. It is the same content, just delivered in different modalities. We're going to share a link with you where you can see our upcoming training schedules as a follow-up to this session. When the team that attended ruler training returns to the school, they have a big job. When school teams leave training, most of them are feeling really inspired and motivating to bring ruler to their schools. Our job is to keep that enthusiasm going. So in that first year, all faculty and staff at the school will have access to our ruler online platform. We are going to take a brief tour of the platform in a little bit. And this platform has everything your school team needs to train faculty, staff, and classrooms pre-K through 12. The team that also attended training will receive virtual coaching sessions, they can attend support webinars, and they receive newsletters to guide their progress. So once the adults in the school have adopted the approach, it is time to plan for classroom implementation. And we will show you what classroom instruction looks like when we tour Ruler Online and share some sample lessons with you following the session. So let's talk about phase 2. This is after the adults within the school community have learned and adopted Ruler themselves. Phase 2 focuses on strengthening Ruler implementation at your school. It involves the continued onboarding of new staff, continued staff personal and professional development, classroom instruction, and family engagement and education. Okay, so the million-dollar question, how much does this cost? So the Ruler Training and Implementation Package is a 2-year package. And as part of that package, you receive the Ruler Institute training, virtual group coaching sessions, electronic newsletters, access to the support platform for your entire faculty and staff, and a discount to our national implementation conference that we offer annually. And how much it costs depends on 2 things: the training modality that you select, online or in person, and the size of your Ruler implementation team. So you can see the prices there, and we list them on our website, and we'll be sure to include that information in our follow-up email as well. So what happens after this 2-year training and implementation package is all set? Ruler support doesn't end after the 2-year package. You can continue your access to all supports included in that first training and implementation package with the annual Ruler subscription. The only thing the annual Ruler subscription does not include is the Ruler Institute. Your team will only need to take that once. All right, so this is typically the part of our information session that everyone is interested in, and I'm going to hand it over to Tangela to tell us more about the Ruler online platform.
Thanks, Erin. So now is the part, well, I enjoy the entire webinar, but I definitely enjoyed this piece. So as part of your subscription, you are going to get access to Ruler Online, not just for you and your implementation team, but for your entire staff. So what does the platform offer? If you look across the top, well, if you look at the very top, you'll see there are courses, resources, curricula, tools, and coaching. The first thing I want to talk to you a little bit about is our courses. So Erin mentioned that the implementation team has a big job because you're going to be asked to go back to your school and to teach everyone everything that you've learned. Well, we don't expect you to just be able to do that and to create all of your resources yourself. We're not going to leave you empty-handed. If you look, there are 2 courses here. The first one is Introduction to Emotions and Emotional Intelligence. The second one goes into a lot more detail than I did on the Ruler tools of emotional intelligence, those 4 tools that we just talked about. So if we let's open up the 4 tools, just the Ruler tools, since we just finished talking about them. And you look, it's broken into modules. So the first module surprise is the charter, right? No surprise. It is 30 minutes long. So if you wanted to do that, for example, during a staff meeting, you could have everyone learn about the charter. And again, we have modules for all of them. There's the mood meter, there is the meta moment, and then finally you'll see the blueprint there. So again, there are 2 courses that you can then take and break up and do with your staff. It may be a situation where you could allow people to go back and to do them independently. That works as well, and there's a little quiz at the end of each module so people can check for understanding. Again, keeping across the top, we'll go to resources. There are so many resources that are on this platform for you, and we're going to look at the collections, and that is our resource library. So you look, if you need help with ruler implementation, if your question is, where do I start? Guess what? There you are, getting started with ruler. There are implementation resource guides. There's also staff meeting facilitation guides to help you. Again, if you want to plan a staff meeting and you want it to center around ruler, there you are. You have professional development time. The resources are here. If we keep going, there's ruler in action. It talks more about the principles, the skills, how you create an emotion matter mindset. There's even more information about the tools we just talked about. So say, for example, you're looking for posters, you'll find them there as well. Part of phase 3 is talking to your families, right? We know that along the way you're going to give parents some information, they're going to know what you're doing, but when you're really ready to delve deeper into what you want to do with your families, there are activities, there's information, there are PowerPoints. There are 10-minute activities if you wanted to plan a family night and have families actually do the things that you're doing with their children. All of that information is there for you. We have resources for out of school time. So for after school programs, for example, there are resources there. There now you're going to find your classroom content. So again, depending on what grade level your students are, there's information there. And if we just keep scrolling quickly, there's hybrid learning, and then there are also mindfulness resources, and there's information about trauma-informed ruler resources. So what do we do when we're helping people to deal with trauma? There's resources there for teachers as well as to help them with their students. Again, if we go to the next piece across the top, we get to our curricula. And there you will see all of our different grade levels. There's elementary, there's middle school, there's high school. You have elementary open, so while you're in elementary, let's go to 5th grade and just take a quick look. I see someone in the queue and asked about with the courses, do you have to have a certain score? No, it's not. We just look for everyone to pass. It's not a situation where if they don't get a certain score that they can't continue on. All right. So no, it's not. And the other thing you make me think about with that is that it's not a situation either that the information is going to be reported back to the implementation team. Okay. So I'm going to continue on looking at the curriculum. So if you look at 5th grade, if you're a teacher, you know that there's usually a teaching guide, and we have that for you. There are also core routines with Ruler. There's certain things that all students need to know how to do. And that is going all the way up from our youngest learners to our oldest learners. And so we want students to learn to use these tools and to do them over and over and over again. And so we give you some advice on how to do that. If we go into, let's open Inspired, Unit 10. So one of the things we want to do is to help students increase their vocabulary so that they're able to really explain how it is that they're feeling. And so for this grade level, the word for Unit 10 is inspired. And it goes through and it helps the teacher teach students about the word inspire. What does it feel like in your body when you're inspired? If you keep scrolling, one of the things that we do a lot is we ask teachers to bring in their own experiences. So sharing with kids, like, what is your experience with the word inspired? And having students come up with their own examples of when they felt inspired. There are content connections where we make a connection to a piece of literacy where we can talk about a character in the story who has been inspired, for example. And we also do this again through going through the ruler tools, looking at how did that character recognize that they felt inspired? What was going on in their bodies? This is a simple way to bring families in because we ask students to go home and talk to a parent or caregiver about a time that they were inspired. And then we always have a strategy piece in these lessons where we talk about if you are feeling inspired, what can you do, for example, if you want to maintain that emotion? How do you continue to help yourself be inspired? And then what is it if, for example, this is not a time when you need to feel inspired, you need to experience a different emotion? How are you going to shift from that? So, again, these are all part of routines and practices that our students learn. And we support them with the hope and the understanding that the day will come when they will be able to do this on their own without having a teacher support them. We're going to go to middle school and take a look at our middle school for the middle school folks who are here on the call. So middle school, we have obviously grades 6, 7, and 8. And let's just open grade 6, please. And what you'll notice is there are so many similarities. Again, we have a teaching guide. We talk about our core routines. The first you see community safety and climate. So that's our charter, right? So we can open that. And it goes through how do you create the charter with the students in your school? How do you talk about what is emotional safety? You know, at this point, when we think about middle school students, their understanding of some of the things that we teach in elementary can be a lot deeper, right? And so we see that here. Everything is connected to our standards, which obviously for teachers, you is something that is very important. And then I also want to point out for middle school, as we talk a lot about integrating throughout all of the different content levels, content areas. So we give some examples for that. And so we're going to skip to high school really quickly. I want to make sure we get in everything. So when we look at our high school, we don't group them by freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. They're grouped by year 1, 2, year 3, and year 4, depending on when your high school starts. So if this is your first year, you may want to start everyone out at year 1, right? Then moving forward, your freshmen will come in at year 1. Everyone else can move to year 2. So it gives you a lot more flexibility when we look at our high school. Let's open up the high school at a glance at the top. Yeah, there you go. And again, this just breaks out. It's all broken out for you so that you can see what are the different areas that you're going to be talking about from each year. All right. And so then we're going to we're going to go back to the main page. And then there are the tools really quickly. I'm just going to speak to that. So those are all the tools that we talked about. And then coaching. I want to make sure we get to coaching before we end the call. So just as we're providing support today and we're talking about ruler, we have ruler coaches. So once your school or your district comes on board, you will be able to bring your questions to a session just like this, except it'll be an hour, and we will have our coaches that will be available to answer any questions that you have about implementation. And if you can see that our calendar is full, we offer so many different dates at different times so that someone is always available to answer the questions that you might have. So I know that given time, we don't have enough time to go through all. Aaron, while I'm talking, can you open up a grade 1 lesson while I'm just finishing up? What I will say to you is that unfortunately, we don't have time to go through everything today, but in the email that you will receive, you will have more examples of things that you can really take your time and you can go through. So for I believe this is grade 1 that you opened up. It's this, you see the same thing, emotions matter. And if you go through how the lesson is broken up, it's just exactly as what I explained to you in 5th grade. It starts off with the teacher talking about the connection to whatever it is that the lesson is about. There is the family connection. So everything is very similar in how it is set up. Okay. And Erin, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Sure. No, I'm actually gonna pause my share here. So we have some other questions, and we're going to send out samples of all grade level bands for you so you can take a look at them. We did have a question. Does the cost also include curriculum and student accounts? And are there family resources available in other languages besides English? So the cost includes curriculum. We do not provide student accounts on our platform, and this is for legal and privacy reasons. So students do not access the platform. It's only the adults at the school. There are family resources available in Spanish. We have several that are also translated into Mandarin. How many units and lessons are provided for each grade level? Are there some that are tier 1 compared to possibly tier 2 responding to certain needs? So Ruler is exclusively a tier 1 intervention. We do not have tier 2 options. And Tangela, do you want to talk a little bit more about how many units and lessons are provided for each grade level band?
They're roughly 12 to 20, depending on the grade level. So what we often hear is that there are so many lessons that people are not able to get through all of the lessons, and that's purposeful so that you can pick and choose if necessary to do what makes sense for the students that you are serving.
Thanks, Tangela. Okay, we have a last one. I know we're 1 minute over, but this is an easy one. Is there a scope and sequence grades should follow? Do the lessons need to be done in a specific order? We do have a scope and sequence for each grade level band. Tangela, do you want to dovetail on that a little bit?
And again, the recommendations are different depending upon the grade level. But yes, there is a recommended scope and sequence. And it's going to change. The more your students become familiar with Ruler, then each year it's going to change a little bit. Or I won't say each year, but the more you've been a part of the Ruler family, it changes. But yes, all of that information is outlined for you.
Thanks, Tangela. All right, so we're going to need to end it there. We will definitely send a breakdown of cost to you as a follow-up. It's also available on our website. If you would do us a favor and just take our 5-question survey, it's probably quicker than 5 minutes. We just want to learn more about you and your school and what you're really looking for, what some of your sticking points are. This is just a way for us to understand what schools and districts are looking for a little bit better. As I mentioned, follow-up materials are coming your way via email. You'll receive the recording, information about the training. We're also going to provide an implementation guide. So how does that phase 1 look? And what are you doing? And how long does it take? We're going to provide that to you. We'll also provide sample lessons for each grade level band. And again, we'll also share the breakdown of cost for you. It's the 2-year implementation package and then the annual subscription. And we can definitely be a little clearer on what that looks like for you. Oh, I'm realizing that I'm not sharing my screen. There's that QR code. So please, if you have any other questions, please feel free to email us anytime, rulertraining@yale.edu. We can continue chatting about it, and we really hope to see you in an upcoming training.